Fascinating. Binary stars indicate that the universe is young. How about hydrogen in the universe? Hydrogen cannot be made by converting other elements into it. Therefore, if the universe were as old as the theory requires, there would now be very little hydrogen in the universe. Now, the age of the universe, a sizable amount of information on this is given in Origin of the Solar System, book that I reviewed. Evidence from our solar system. Solar collapse. Our sun is gradually shrinking at a steady rate. It is occurring fast enough that as little as 50,000 years ago, the sun would have been so large that our oceans would have boiled off. Well, I guess it's younger than that. In far less time, in the past 25,000 years or so, all life on Earth would have ceased to exist. Solar neutrinos. The sun is emitting hardly any neutrinos. This, coupled with the fact that the sun is shrinking, points to a recently created sun. Comets. Comets circle the sun and are soon to be as old as our solar system, since they are continually disintegrating, and at a number that are known who have broken up, evidently all of them self-destruct within a relatively short time period. It is estimated that the comets cannot be over 10,000 years old. Does that make the universe only 10,000 years old? Well, the evidence shows that. Comet water. Comets are primarily composed of water. So many small comets strike the Earth that if our planet was billions of years old, our oceans would be filled several times over with water. Solar wind. The sun's radiation blows very small particles in space outward. All particles smaller than a certain size should, millions of years ago, have been blown out of the solar system. Yet these microparticles are abundant and still orbiting the sun. Therefore, our solar system is quite young. Solar drag. Small and medium rocks circling the sun are gradually drawn by gravity into the sun. Careful analysis reveals that most would have been gone within 10,000 years, and all within 50,000 years. There's no known source of rock or particle replenishment, so how come they're still here? Well, we go to Dr. Russell Humphreys. Gravity distorts time. The theory utilizes Einstein's general theory of relativity, which is the best theory of gravity we have today. General relativity has been well established experimentally and is the physics framework for all modern cosmologies. According to GR, gravity affects time. Clocks at a low altitude should tick more slowly than clocks at a high altitude, and observations confirm this effect, which some call gravitational time dilation, I mentioned earlier, not to be confused with the better-known velocity time dilation in Einstein's special relativity theory. For example, an atomic clock at the Royal Observatory in Greenwich, England, ticks 5 microseconds per year slower than an identical clock at the National Bureau of Standards in Boulder, Colorado, both clocks being accurate to about 1 microsecond per year. Approximately 1 mile apart in altitude, these two clocks are positioned, so 5 microseconds per year per mile. A large variety of more precise experiments has confirmed gravitational time dilation to an accuracy of better than 1%. Whatever measurements were made at one altitude would not show the effect, because anything at that altitude would be slowed by the same factor. You would have to compare clocks at different altitudes to see a difference. While God makes the universe in 6 days in the Earth's reference frame, the light had ample time in the extraterrestrial reference frame to travel the required distances. So that answers that question. Since gravitational time dilation has been experimentally measured using atomic clocks on airplanes, in which the clocks aboard the airplane were slightly faster with respect to clocks on the ground, and since this effect is significant enough that the Global Positioning System's artificial satellites needed to have their clocks corrected, and since time dilations due to height differences of less than 1 meter have been experimentally verified in the laboratory, and since gravitational time dilation has also been confirmed by the Pound-Rebka experiment, and since observations of the spectra of the white dwarf Sirius B and experiments with time signals were sent to and from Viking 1, Mars lander, relative to the gravitational time dilation, then it is feasible that larger, more significant time dilation might be possible much further out in the universe, wherein starlight from the very far away, billions of miles away, might be observed in a very short time on Earth, should Earth be in the center of the universe and be bounded and infinite and finite. So if the radius of the universe were to be about 450 million light years in accordance with the Schwarzschild radius, which requires a spherically symmetrical bounded universe, and if the time dilation per mile to be 5 microseconds per year, as repeatedly observed with experiments with atomic clocks, then that would translate to 4.1 billion year differential in time at the edge of the universe, which is about 450 million years light time via light travel to 1 day's time on the Earth itself. 1 day to the edge of the universe. This would make stars at the edge of the universe observable in less than 1 day. So light from the stars 450 million light years away can be observed on the Earth in about 2.5 hours. I explain a lot of things. So, from observations of the near heavens, it appears that the Earth is just a few thousand years old. Some stars appear to be billions of light years away, and we've already explained how that can be observable if the Earth is in the center of a bounded universe. Astrophysicists will admit that the formula which indicates long ages for the star, known as the red shift or the Doppler effect, is in error. Yeah, we just looked at that. The problem is that if we take the formula at face value on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, the universe is twice as large as it is on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, and on Sunday it's a toss-up. Yeah, another comic book. Recently, a scientist on the East Coast found that the Doppler effect can actually be a phenomenon of the tiring light rather than suggesting an implication of long age. A recent theory, rather vigorously advocated by some astrophysicists, strongly questions the constancy of the velocity of light in space and time, as well as the generally accepted Einsteinian nature of the universe. These writers regard the universe much more realistically as a Euclidean universe, three-dimensional, as in our everyday experience, and the velocity of light is constant with respect to its source, rather than the respect to any observer as Einstein does. In essence, therefore, the method of this paper leaves astronomical space unchanged, but reduces the time required for light to travel from a star to the Earth. We have these things out there that are plausible, but can't be provable because we don't live long enough to do that. Or more specifically, and rather surprisingly, the acceptance of Riemann space allows us to reject Einstein's relativity and to keep all the ordinary ideas of time and all the ideas of Euclidean space out to a distance of a few light years. Astronomical space remains Euclidean for material bodies, but light is considered to travel in Riemannian space. In this way, the time required for light to reach us from the most distant stars is only 15 years. There's stuff out there that hasn't been disproved, and other things that in evolutionary theory of billions of 13.8 billion year old universe has not even been close to being shown consistency. So even the stars appeared fully operational at the beginning of creation, and that's plausible. One of the concepts of evolutionary consideration is that some of the stars appear to be much closer. The formula which calculates these distances is by no means proven. But even if God wanted them to be 16 billion light years away, there's no problem for an omnipotent personal God to create the light there. But with gravitational time dilation, we have scientific evidence that we don't have to have a fantasy created by God in our own imagination. So the idea that the universe is 15 billion years old, and this age gives validity to some evolutionary or developmental cosmology, is widely believed, but is still totally incorrect. As a matter of fact, now with the God particle and catastrophism on the edge of evolutionary theory, because they can't explain other things, that's getting so close to the Bible that even the evolutionists even call this the God particle. The one particle left when the universe is going to devolve into nothing and go already back to a new universe. So it is a classic case of getting the cart before the horse. One of the great astronomers of the 20th century, Sir Arthur Eddington, expressed this basic principle of cosmology. For the reader resolved to eschew theory and admit only definite observational facts, all astronomical books are banned. There are no purely observational facts about the heavenly bodies. Astronomical measurements are, without exception, measurements of phenomena occurring in a terrestrial observation or station. It is only by theory or guesstimation that they are translated into knowledge of the universe outside. Can't project something that you can't prove out. So Sir Arthur Eddington said that there are no undisputed observational facts about the universe, including measurements of age and distance. And any knowledge we have of the universe, obviously our knowledge is true only if our theories are true. So, more on this next time. Well, here, let's go on. Eddington was not talking about the solar system so much as about the universe beyond. Many do not realize that the farthest direct age distance measurement we can make in the universe is limited to about 300 light years, done by triangulation using the diameter of the Earth's orbit as a baseline. All age distance measurements beyond that are indirect and are based on assumptions which may or may not be valid. So when you go to astronomy school, you go to fantasy school. One of the fallacies of the Big Bang cosmology is based upon this time-distance relationship. Because the light from distant galaxies appears to be redshifted, which we've now disproved, with the quasar and the galaxy touching each other, and yet this would be in indefinite, innumerable distance apart, astronomers believe that the universe is expanding, although the idea of an expanding universe is just one of several possible interpretations of the red shift of light. This expansion in itself is not necessarily unbiblical. What is unbiblical is the extrapolation of this expansion backward 15 billion years to an alleged Big Bang, taking God out of the picture. The validity of this extrapolation can be put to an observational test. When we look out in space, we look back in time. If the universe has been expanding for 15 billion years, we would expect to see a difference in the spatial density of the galaxies. Galaxies far out should be closer together than galaxies close to our own galaxy, the Milky Way, because they are closer in time to the Big Bang. However, we do not see these differences at all, even when measured within the parameters of the Big Bang cosmology. So Sir Bernard Lovell commented on this fact. But it is a misfortune for the observer, as I emphasized earlier on, that we do not find any change in what we call the spatial density of the galaxies. We find that the number of galaxies per given volume of space per cubic megaparsec, as we say, is the same as at the distance of 4 billion light years as it is in the region around our own solar system. The implication of this observation is quite fascinating. It means that if the universe is expanding, it has not been expanding very long. If the universe were 15 billion years old, the spatial density of the galaxies would be very different close in as compared to far out. So Dr. Patton says, it seems that the more we learn about the basic laws of nature, the more those laws seem to tell us that the visible matter, the stuff we can see, shouldn't be arranged the way it is if the universe is billions of years old. There shouldn't be galaxies out there at all. And even if there are galaxies, they shouldn't be grouped together the way they are. The problem of explaining the existence of galaxies has proved to be one of the thorniest in cosmology, and this guy was writing this dozens of years ago. By all rights, they shouldn't be there, especially if, according to the evolutionists, the universe is billions of years old, and yet there they sit. It's hard to convey the frustration that the simple fact induces among scientists. Despite what you may read in the press, we still have no answer to the question of why the sky is full of galaxies, although we've succeeded in eliminating many wrong answers. Well, James Truffle. And then we look at the formations like barred and spiral galaxies. These straight bars of star formations, which appear to be dissecting the spiral galaxies, are amazing if they have been spinning as long as we have been told by evolutionists that they've been spinning. That organizational structure that we see would wrap itself up, according to Kepler's third law, in just a few thousand years. They're still there. We see the principle illustrated with spinning ice skaters. They hold their arms out, they spin more slowly, and as they pull them in, they spin faster. Likewise, with these barred spiral galaxies, they are spinning very rapidly, more rapidly than evolutionist theories can account for. The interior would spin faster, and the outer part would spin more slowly. And if you've got a bar through the middle, how in the world do you get it there if they don't know that? It would wrap itself up and self-destruct in just a few thousand years. So maybe the universe is only a few thousand years old. So planets and moons of the solar system appear to be young. There are certain facts about the planets and moons which disagree with the various evolutionary theories as well. More reasons why the theories are not true. Nearly all the sideways movement is in the planets, yet nearly all the mass is in the sun. The theories require the opposite. The orbits of Mercury, Pluto, asteroids, and comets are not in the same level plane as the others. Both Uranus and Venus rotate backward instead of forward. Uranus is literally rolling along. A third of the 60 moons orbit backward, not forward. No theory of self-origin can explain that. One example would be Triton, one of Neptune's inner moons. It revolves backwards, has a nearly circular orbit, and is so close to the planet that it should fall into it. Otherwise, if the universe is old, why are these things observable now? There are many differences between the various